How do you view the ramifications of the antitrust provision in the health reform bill? Can you support a final bill with those provisions in it?
Current law, under the McCarran-Ferguson Act, exempts insurance companies. A number of us believe that should not be allowed anymore. I co-sponsored legislation. In fact, I just wrote a letter with others to do that. But we are not going to be able to get that done in this bill. There's so much opposition, so we will have to visit that for another day. But I think the insurance company should be under the antitrust laws.
What happened with Senator Cole's proposal to provide a $50, or it must be more than $50, long-term care benefit to the public?
I don't know about that specific proposal, but I do know that one of the exciting things in this legislation is called the Class Act. It's a provision that allows people, through their payroll, to put away money for long-term care. And it is an exciting proposal that I think is another sleeper in the bill. I didn't have time. There were 30 or 40 things that I know about that I think are exciting in this legislation. That's one. But I don't believe that was Senator Cole's proposal.
Why should Wisconsin taxpayers pay for Nebraska Medicaid? Why do we always pay? What do we get for it?
Well, I think I said in my comments that the Nebraska thing was ridiculous. He's not going to be able to maintain it. It shouldn't have been in there, and shouldn't have. But we're going to do very well in this bill, far better than Ben Nelson was doing for Nebraska without paying this kind of money.
Is it true that you did not oppose the hospice? Looks like hospice productivity or productivity cuts in the health care reform bill.
Who's the guy that got that changed? I mean, I don't know where that comes from. I met with the hospice people in Madison. They begged me at the last minute to do something. I called my staff members from the parking lot of the hospice place, and I said, I want to do something about this. And Susan Phillips, who runs the hospice organization in Madison, came to Washington and thanked me for leading the fight along with Ron White. So
That answers that
what can you say?
Social Security recipients were denied cost of living adjustments because cost of living went down. So why did Congress themselves get a 2%? Also, the government employees.
These questions are getting better by the minute. For 17 years, I've led the fight in the United States Senate to eliminate the system whereby we get an automatic pay increase every year unless we decide to have a vote. Pretty good deal. I have never accepted that system. And not only that, I was able this year, because I was trying to raise heck about this, because of my efforts, Pelosi actually decided to go along with it because she didn't want to deal with it. We are not getting a pay raises. Zero. Should get congratulated. We obviously don't deserve one right now. I mean, come on. How can you really, with a straight face, do this? So we are not going to get one more dime on next year's. Okay? However, we need to eliminate this system. And I was able, by threatening to bring this up in the Senate, the overall elimination of the automatic pay increase, to get it to the Senate. Well, all of a sudden they all voted for it. Of course, you know what's going on. They're saying, we'll kill it in the House. I've been trying to find one member of the House of Representatives for 6 months to have the guts, Republican or Democrat, to start a discharge petition which forces the leadership to bring up the bill, and not one member of the House will do it. So if you know anybody, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. And in terms of my pay, I only take a pay increase when I'm reelected. In other words, for the 6 years, and I take the pay that I get at the beginning of my 6 years, and I write out a check every 2 weeks to the Federal Treasury. You've heard me comment on my net worth. $70,000 that I pay to the Bureau of Public Debt because I will not accept a pay increase unless I'm reelected, and therefore that's the way I handle it myself, so I don't have it both ways. In other words, getting the political benefit of saying against the pay raise and keeping it.
Just a couple more. I know we're getting close there to time. Canada, European countries have national health care, but they don't have the tort system we have here. Should we have tort reform also?
A lot about this in the last few days because people really want us to have major provisions about tort reform at the federal level. I don't like the idea of the federal government taking the tort system. It's always been left to the states. And what did we do in Wisconsin? This is even before I was in politics, in the early 1980s. They somehow got the trial lawyers and the doctors together here and created the Patients' Compensation Payment, which takes the lawsuits out of court. That system has been so effective, and there have been so few claims, that there's a ton of money in the fund, and the governor actually took some of the money to balance budget, which probably should. Doctors move here because we do not have the same problems that other states have. I am very concerned about letting this become a national political football with powerful interests on both sides. I don't want to take away the state powers in this area because we've done a good job for ourselves, which is stick with it. That's the kind of tort reform I believe in rather than national rules.
What can we do to help support and get the new water conservation program at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee moving?
This is what this E4 initiative I'm hoping will help with. The Small Business Innovation and Research Program is a program where all federal agencies are supposed to devote a certain percentage of their budget to small business help, startup money in particular. What I have done by putting water as a priority is made it more likely that businesses like that and consortiums, including the UWM approach, are eligible and able to get that kind of money. I think these changes will help do that. And again, SBIR has been a program going back 20 years that various businesses in the state, such as Promega and others, are now major businesses, started with just a little tiny idea. And because of that program, they grew to be very successful programs. So I'm trying to do it particularly through that mechanism. I believe this would, in some of the provisions, allow specifically for consortiums between universities and businesses with that kind of a cooperation.
And this is the final question I have here. Was the failed attempt by the terrorists to take down an airliner a wake-up call that our efforts since 9/11 are lagging, or was this an overreaction?
I would call this a Rip Van Winkle wake-up call. In both administrations, I've spent day after day trying to warn people that this battle, this struggle, is not a country-by-country deal. Joe Lieberman said the other day, you know, first it was Iraq, now it's Afghanistan. Before you know it, it'll be Yemen. No. That's not what it is. It's an international network. They've been in Yemen forever. When we went into Baghdad, I gave a speech on the floor of the Senate in 2002, and I said, does anyone know that this week, while we're all focused on Baghdad, that the convicted al-Qaeda killers of our 17 American men and women and the USS Cole in Yemen escaped from a Yemeni prison? Nobody paid any attention. And every single year I've tried to warn people that they got to look at this as places where they might be going or where they're already based rather than places where they've already been. That's not to say you ignore Afghanistan. You know, I've been very clear. I've disagreed with this president. The notion that you put 150,000 troops in Afghanistan and take all the resources, you know, it's intelligence resources, as we know from this horrible disaster last week. You know, we have tons of intelligence there. You put all that in this place, and you're not able to adequately staff places like Somalia, Yemen, North Africa. I find it almost bizarre. People think this began in 9/11. USS Cole was before that, so why are you talking about Africa, Feingold? Well, in 1998, they blew up our embassies in Africa. So when are we going to figure this out? This is about the whole world. We're thinking about past wars. And so I have concerns with both administrations on this. We've got to turn it around. Go after the people that deserve to be killed for what they've done and to stop them. And I'm glad I got to finish on national security.
Well, thank you for addressing the question, Senator Feingold. Any closing comments at all?
Just an excellent conversation. I know this is a time of enormous anxiety and concern. And regardless of anybody's political future or anything else, I love this state. It's been the home of my family since 1917. And I do hope together we can have a much brighter day in the coming year. And I look forward to your communities and your businesses' efforts in that regard. Thank you.